The underdog theme is very present in almost everything we see nowadays. But what is an underdog? Well, according to its definition, an underdog is a person or group of people with less power, money, etc. than the rest of society. But according to Susan Middich, in her article Underdogs and Tricksters, the underdog is the person who is least likely to succeed and yet does. She continues saying that normally we grow sympathy for these characters as we want them to succeed. This theme is very particular of the Hebrew Bible. So in other words, it's like a person who goes from 0 to 100 while nobody is expecting it. This is the triumphant underdog. As I said earlier, this theme is present in our modern literature, art, and also in the film industry, as it is the case for the film Hacksaw Ridge. This film was directed by Mel Gibson, starring Andrew Garfield. Who was Desmond Doss? Desmond Thomas Doss was born in Lynchburg, Virginia in 1919. Raised with a fervent belief in the Bible and the Seventh-day Adventist faith, Doss took the Ten Commandments personally, especially the words, "Thou shalt not kill." He also obeyed the Fourth Commandment with weekly church attendance on the seventh day, Saturday. He voluntarily joined for the United States Army on April 1st, 1942. But there is a problem. Doss refuses to carry weapons and take a person's life. His weapons were his Bible and his faith in God. His refusal to carry a gun caused fellow soldiers and the army to view him with disdain. He was rejected. He was bullied. He was considered a coward, unmanly, unfit for the army. Other soldiers even expressed their desires to kill him at combat. They intimidated him. They physically abused him. The commanding officer wanted to get rid of him, and so they tried to declare him as mentally unfit for the army. Others attempted to court-martial him for refusing a direct order. Nonetheless, they failed to find a way to toss him out. Because on top of all of this, Doss refused to work on Saturdays. And so, for many, this was a source of irritation as well, as he got his weekly pass to go to church while others were doing their duties. Finally, in May 1945, they shipped off to Okinawa. The Japanese troops were fiercely defending this territory. The Americans needed to capture the Media Escarpment, also known as Hacksaw Ridge, as it was an imposing rock formation. The war was brutal. Many American soldiers lay wounded or dying on Hacksaw Ridge. Doss vowed to rescue as many of the fallen soldiers as he could. After all of his platoon had retreated, he was the only soldier to stay at the battleground. One by one, he single-handedly carried his men to the edge of the cliff, and he lowered them down to safety, whether it was American soldiers or Japanese soldiers. Private First Class Desmond Doss seeks the aid of a higher power. Lord, please help me get one more. Armed with nothing but a Bible, he is carrying his wounded comrades to safety, one by one, through enemy fire, repeatedly. The words that emerge from Andrew Garfield's mouth are, in fact, the same words the real Doss uttered on the Japanese island more than 70 years ago. And indeed, much of the plot is faithfully drawn from Doss's life. The same faith that made him the weak link back at the boot camp in the eyes of the others was the same that helped him save all of these men. But what other men in the Hebrew Bible might share the same themes of faithfulness and underdog as our protagonist in Hacksaw Ridge? Perhaps a man who was held captive with his friends in a strange nation. The biblical account of Daniel the prophet begins as he and other young men from Judah were taken captive by King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Daniel is considered a man of faith in the Hebrew Bible. Throughout the book of Daniel, he shows himself to be a faithful man of God. But first of all, what elements make Daniel and his friends underdogs? Well, to start with, they're already held captive in a strange land, a land where the God of Israel is not glorified. On top of this, their Hebrew names are changed to Chaldean names. We can see the shift from names that reflected their faith and lineage to names dedicated to pagan gods. In this book, we have 4 cases of faithfulness where the theme of the underdog repeats itself. The case number 1 might be the moment where Daniel and his friends refuse to consume the unclean food from the king. According to the book Holman Concise Bible Commentary, Daniel regarded the food offered by the Babylonians to be defiling. There were many reasons why Daniel and his friends did not want to consume this kind of food. First, it was offered to the gods. Second, it was impure animal meat. Third, it was not prepared according to the natural prescriptions on Deuteronomy 12:23. And so Daniel tried to convince the king that they did not need this kind of food, that they could be better off with vegetables and fruits and water instead of meat and wine and all of these things. And so they were giving a 10-day trial period. Daniel purposed in his heart to live in harmony with all the revealed will of God. First, God brought him into favor and tender love with the officials of Babylon. This prepared the way for the second step, the demonstration of the physical superiority of Daniel and his companions. Then followed a demonstration of intellectual superiority. God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, with the result that they were considered 10 times better than their closest competitors. Now, another case we find in Daniel chapter 2, verse 1 to 49. Here, the book tells the story of how Nebuchadnezzar had a dream that was troubling him, but he could not remember it. So he summoned his wise men and diviners. And in Daniel 2, verse 4, it says, "Then spoke the Chaldeans to the king in the Syrian language. O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation." Verse 5, the king answered the Chaldeans, "The thing is gone from me. If you don't make now to me the dream and its interpretation, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill." Now, these people were basically already dead because they were used to interpret the dream that had been told to them, but not to actually tell the person what the person dreamt. So they just told the king that no one can do this. This is impossible. And Daniel heard all of this, and he prayed to God so he could grant him the vision of what Nebuchadnezzar had dreamt, so he would spare the lives of all of these people and their family. Case number 3 is found in Daniel chapter 3, verse 1 to 30. The king has made an image, big, huge, gold statue, that it represented his sovereign authority, being the king of the great nation of Babylon. And he ordered every subject to attend a dedication ceremony for the image. They were to bow down to this statue. Everyone had bowed down, but 3 people remained standing up: Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Obviously, the king got very mad at this. But these 3 men explained to him that they wouldn't bow down to this image because they owed their loyalty to the one God. And so they were thrown to the furnace of fire. But the fire did not kill them. Instead, they saw a 4th man inside that they believed it was an angel. When they came out of the furnace, they were unharmed, untouched. Lastly, case number 4, where Daniel defies the king's decree in chapter 6, verse 1 to 15. At this point, Daniel was already very successful and renowned in all Babylon. This aroused the jealousy of other administrators, so they plotted against him and convinced the king Darius to issue a decree commanding his subjects to worship him exclusively for 1 month. All of those who violated this decree would be thrown to the lion's den. But Daniel disregarded this and kept praying to his God every day, every night, and Darius had no other alternative than to throw him to the lions. But again, because of his faithfulness, Daniel was not harmed. Daniel and his 3 friends asked Yahweh to deliver them from life-threatening danger and impossible dilemmas, and he is faithful to answer. To Daniel and his friends, loyalty to God is more important than life itself. Their obedient trust is incredible. They state their loyalty and convictions that God is able to deliver them. Their loyalty not only testifies to their commitment, but also leads to their deliverance. If both Daniel and his friends, and Desmond Doss in Hacksaw Ridge, would have let go of their convictions, another story would have been written. To this movie, a third reference can be made. The first direct reference is made by one of the soldiers after hitting Desmond Doss in the face. He quotes Matthew 5:39, "But I tell you, don't resist him who is evil, but whoever strikes you on your right cheek, turn to him the other one." Of course, this man wants to mock him for his beliefs and uses the same book he cherishes as a way to do so. And unbelievably, this man does not respond with another punch, even though he's physically abused, mocked, cursed, and intimidated. He stands true to his convictions of love to others. Furthermore, as a medic, he could, as he put it, be like Christ, saving lives instead of taking them. It also prevented him from breaking the 4th commandment, because Christ also healed on the Sabbath day. And lastly, John 15:13 says, "Greater love has no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends." And that's what Desmond Doss did over and over again. He risked his own life so others would live. Following Jesus' example, he would choose to die so another could live. And this is what he read in his Bible. And what can we extract from all of this? Perhaps the importance of not compromising one's values, faith, and commitment to God, to stand firm, even if you still know.